My hands shook as I held the corkscrew over the wine bottle. The afternoon sun cut through the kitchen window, making the dark glass gleam like polished obsidian. Behind me, Martha's voice sliced through the silence. "David, wait, don't open that yet." I turned to face my neighbor. She stood in my doorway, still holding the casserole dish she'd brought over, but her eyes were locked on the wine bottle like she'd spotted a rattlesnake coiled on my counter. "What's wrong?" I asked. "It's just wine. Jenny sent it for my birthday." Martha set down the casserole and moved closer, her reading glasses sliding down her nose as she leaned in. She'd been a pharmacist for 40 years before retiring, and I'd learned to trust her instincts about things that seemed off. "Look at the seal," she said quietly. "Right there, along the neck." I picked up the bottle and examined it more carefully. The wax seal that covered the cork looked pristine at first glance, but when I tilted it toward the light, I saw what Martha meant. A hairline crack ran along one side, and the wax appeared slightly darker in that spot, as if someone had melted it to reseal the bottle. "Someone opened this before," Martha said. Her face had gone pale. "David, when did you say this arrived?" "This morning. FedEx Sunday delivery. I was surprised Jenny would pay extra for that." Martha pulled out her phone. "Do you still have the box it came in?" I gestured toward the recycling bin where I had tossed the packaging an hour earlier. She fished it out, studying the shipping label with that same intense focus she'd once used to double-check prescriptions. "This return address," she said slowly. "Isn't this that apartment complex on Saguaro Boulevard?" Jenny hasn't lived there in 2 years. The kitchen suddenly felt colder. I looked at the 6 bottles lined up on my counter, each one supposedly vintage 1982 Bordeaux, the year I was born. The gift card sat beside them, Jenny's handwriting looping across the paper. "To the best dad, sorry for everything. Let's start fresh. Love, Jenny and Brad." Maybe she used an old address by mistake, I said, but even as the words left my mouth, I knew they sounded hollow. Martha was already examining the other bottles, her fingers tracing along each seal. "David, I need you to be honest with me. When was the last time you actually spoke to Jenny?" I walked to the window, staring out at the desert landscape that stretched behind my house. The saguaro cacti stood like silent sentinels, their arms raised toward a sky that offered no answers. 6 months, I admitted. Not since I told her I wouldn't give Brad money for his latest business scheme. Martha's silence spoke volumes. She knew the history. Everyone in our small retirement community knew the history. I'd been the fool who kept writing checks, kept believing that the next time would be different, kept hoping that love could be measured in dollar signs transferred from my account to theirs. The phone call that had ended it all had come on a Tuesday morning in January. I could still hear Jenny's voice, that particular tone she used when Brad was coaching her from the background. "Dad, Brad's business is about to take off. We just need a bridge loan. 50,000. We'll pay you back in 6 months with interest." I'd been in this same kitchen, making my morning coffee, when my hand had finally stopped reaching for my checkbook. "I gave you 80,000 last year for the investment opportunity that was supposed to double our money." "That was different. This is Brad's dream. His company is going to revolutionize solar panel installation in Arizona. We already have 3 contracts lined up." "No." The single word had hung in the air between us like a grenade with the pin pulled. "What do you mean, no?" "I mean no, Jennifer. I'm not giving you or Brad any more money." The phone had gone silent for so long I thought she'd hung up. Then I'd heard Brad's voice in the background, muffled but angry. Jenny had come back on the line, her voice tight. "So that's it? After everything Mom and I meant to you? After all the sacrifices we made? You're just going to turn your back on your own daughter?" "Your mother has been gone for 3 years, Jenny. Don't use her memory as a weapon." "Fine. Don't help us. But don't expect me to keep pretending everything is okay when you clearly don't care about your own grandchildren." She'd hung up. I hadn't heard from her again until the wine arrived this morning. Martha's voice pulled me back to the present. "David, I want to run a test. Do you have any of those sulfite test strips left from when Sarah was alive?" My late wife had been severely allergic to sulfites. We'd kept test strips in the house for years, checking everything from dried fruit to wine before she consumed it. After she passed, I'd kept the habit, even though my own allergy was much milder. A glass of cheap wine might give me a headache and some hives, but nothing life-threatening. "In the pantry," I said. "Top shelf, next to the emergency supplies." Martha found the strips and carefully opened one of the bottles. The crack in the seal had been so expertly resealed that I never would have noticed it without her pointing it out. She dipped the test strip into the wine, and we both waited. The strip turned dark purple, then black. "That's not possible," Martha whispered. "That concentration would require pharmaceutical-grade sulfite compounds." "David, this isn't wine anymore. This is poison." I sank into a kitchen chair, the room tilting slightly. "Why would Jenny—" "Not Jenny," Martha interrupted. "Brad, think about it. The old address. The Sunday delivery so you'd get it when you were alone. The birthday timing. David, did you ever tell him about your sulfite allergy?" The memory surfaced like something dredged from a dark well. Last Thanksgiving, before everything fell apart. We'd all been at dinner, and Brad had made a joke about my dietary restrictions. Can't have sulfites, can't have shellfish. Getting old is just one restriction after another, right, David? Everyone had laughed. Including me. Martha was already pulling out her phone. "I'm calling Detective Chen." "Wait," I said. "We don't know for sure that Brad—" "David." Martha's voice was gentle but firm. "Your daughter sends you wine, knowing you're allergic to sulfites. The seals have been tampered with. The concentration is high enough to kill someone with a severe allergy. If you'd had your wife's level of sensitivity, you'd have gone into anaphylactic shock within minutes of drinking this." She paused. "When was the last time you updated your will?" The pieces clicked together with sickening clarity. I'd changed my will 2 months ago, after Brad had left a drunken voicemail at 2 in the morning, calling me a selfish old man sitting on $800,000, while his grandkids supposedly ate ramen for dinner. Everything now went to my son Michael, who lived in Singapore, and had built his own successful consulting business, and to various charities Sarah and I had supported. Jenny would get the house, but only if she maintained sobriety for 2 years and agreed to therapy. It was a trust arrangement my lawyer had suggested, designed to help her without enabling her. Brad didn't know about the change. Neither did Jenny. As far as they knew, everything still went to my daughter in the event of my death. Martha was already talking to someone at the police station. I sat there, staring at the 6 bottles of poisoned wine, thinking about the little girl who used to climb into my lap and ask me to read her the same story 3 times in a row. The teenager who'd sobbed in my arms when her high school boyfriend broke her heart. The young woman who'd walked across the stage to receive her college diploma, her smile bright enough to light the entire auditorium. Where had that girl gone? When had she become someone who would stand by while her husband tried to murder her own father? Detective Chen arrived 40 minutes later with a crime scene team. They bagged the wine bottles, the shipping materials, and even the gift card. Chen, a woman in her mid-40s with sharp eyes and a no-nonsense demeanor, asked me to walk through everything. I told her about the 6 months of silence, the years of financial requests that had escalated from reasonable help with unexpected expenses to demanding $50,000 for Brad's latest scheme, the drunken voicemail, the changed will. "Do you have documentation of the money you gave them?" Chen asked. I pulled out my laptop and showed her the bank transfers. $80,000 last January for the investment opportunity. $35,000 the year before for Brad's failed restaurant concept. $12,000 for what was supposed to be Tyler's medical bills, which I'd later discovered had been covered by insurance. $20,000 for Madison's private school tuition, which I'd found out she'd never attended. The list went on. $247,000, Chen said quietly. "Over the past 5 years, I wanted to help my daughter," I said. "I thought I was being a good father." "You were being a good father," Martha interjected from where she sat on my couch. "Brad is being a predator." Chen nodded. "Mr. Martinez, I need to ask you something sensitive. Is there any chance your daughter knew about the tampering?" The question hung in the air. I wanted to say no. I wanted to believe that Jenny was innocent, that Brad had acted alone, that my daughter wouldn't have stood by while her husband tried to murder me. "I don't know," I finally said. 6 months ago, I would have said absolutely not. But I don't know who she is anymore. Chen closed her notebook. "We'll need to analyze the wine, get Brad's phone records, search history, financial records. These things take time. In the meantime, I'm recommending you don't contact your daughter or son-in-law, and don't accept any more gifts or deliveries." After the police left, Martha made me tea and sat with me as the sun set over the desert. Neither of us said much. What was there to say? My phone buzzed. A text from Michael in Singapore. "Dad, happy birthday. Sorry I can't call until later, stuck in meetings. Love you." I typed back. "Love you too, son. Call when you can. Need to talk. 3 days later, Detective Chen called with an update. The wine had been laced with pharmaceutical-grade sodium metabisulfite at concentrations that would have killed me within minutes if I'd had Sarah's level of allergy. With my milder sensitivity, it would have taken longer, but the outcome would have been the same. Brad's search history told the story Chen's team had been expecting. Searches for sulfite allergy, lethal dose, wine poisoning symptoms, how long until sulfite reaction, and disturbingly, natural causes death investigation process. But that wasn't the worst of it. Mr. Martinez, Chen said carefully, we found something else. Brad took out a $2 million life insurance policy on your daughter 3 months ago. The premiums are current, and his search history also includes queries about making death look accidental. The room spun. He was planning to kill Jenny too? After you died and she inherited your estate, yes. We believe that was his plan. That night, I sat alone in my house, surrounded by photos of Jenny at various ages. The little girl with gap-toothed smiles, the teenager with braces and big dreams, the bride on her wedding day, looking at Brad like he hung the moon. The next morning, Chen called again. We arrested Brad an hour ago. Your daughter has asked to speak with you. She's at the station, and she's cooperating with the investigation. She claims she didn't know about the poisoning, but she did know Brad had been researching your allergies. She thought he was just being thoughtful about future gifts. Is she lying? I don't think so. She's genuinely shocked and terrified. Mr. Martinez, I think your daughter has been a victim of manipulation and abuse for longer than any of us realized. We found evidence that Brad has been giving her pills, controlling her finances, isolating her from friends. When we arrested him, we also found evidence that he scammed his own parents out of $150,000 5 years ago. Against every instinct telling me to protect myself, I drove to the police station. They led me to a small interview room where Jenny sat, her face blotchy from crying, her hands trembling as she gripped a tissue. She looked up when I entered, and I saw the daughter I remembered. Not the entitled woman who'd demanded money, but the scared girl who'd once needed her father to check for monsters under the bed. Daddy, she whispered. I didn't know. I swear I didn't know about the wine. Brad said he was sending you a birthday present from both of us. He said it was vintage wine from your birth year. He said it was a peace offering. I sat down across from her. Every fiber of my being wanted to reach across the table and hold her hand. But I'd learned the hard way that love sometimes means maintaining boundaries. Jenny, I need you to be completely honest with me. Did you know Brad was researching my sulfite allergy? She nodded miserably. He said he wanted to make sure any future gifts wouldn't cause problems. He seemed so thoughtful. I believed him. The money I gave you, where did it go? Brad's businesses, his debts. He said we were investing in our future. He said you were being selfish, that you had plenty of money and we needed it more, he said. She broke down, shoulders shaking. He said you didn't love me if you wouldn't help. And I believed him. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Are you using pills, Jenny? Her face crumpled. He gives me anxiety medication. At least that's what he says it is. But lately, I can't think straight. I can't remember things. Detective Chen said, they're going to test what he's been giving me. I took a breath. I changed my will 2 months ago. Everything goes to Michael and to charity. The house goes to you, but only after you complete rehab and 2 years of sobriety and therapy. She stared at me. You cut me out? I created a path for you to save yourself. The money was destroying you, Jenny. It was destroying us. I watched Brad manipulate you, gaslight you, use you, and I kept thinking that if I just gave you enough money, you'd leave him. But it doesn't work that way. I know, she whispered. I know that now. Too late, but I know. It's not too late. Detective Chen says if you cooperate fully, if you testify against Brad, you'll likely get probation. You'll need to go to rehab. You'll need therapy. You'll need to rebuild your life from the ground up. But it's not too late. What about Madison and Tyler? My grandchildren. I'd barely seen them in the past 2 years. They can stay with me while you're in treatment. Michael is flying in next week. We'll figure this out together. She looked at me with red-rimmed eyes. Why? After everything I did, after I chose him over you, why would you help me now? Because you're my daughter. Because I love you. But Jenny, this is the last time. If you don't take this chance, if you go back to Brad after this, I'm done. I have to protect myself too. Do you understand? She nodded. I understand. The next 6 months were the hardest of my life. Brad was charged with attempted murder and conspiracy. The insurance scam came to light. Jenny entered a residential treatment program where they discovered Brad had been giving her a cocktail of prescription medications designed to keep her compliant and confused. Madison and Tyler moved into my house. Michael stayed for 3 weeks, helping me navigate the sudden responsibility of raising preteens. The kids were angry, confused, grieving the parents they thought they had. Tyler barely spoke for the first month. Madison screamed that she hated me, hated her mother, hated everyone. But slowly, with therapy and routine and the kind of stability they'd never had, they began to heal. Tyler started talking about his day at school. Madison joined the robotics club and discovered she loved engineering. Martha became their unofficial grandmother, teaching Madison to bake and taking Tyler to her book club's science fiction nights. Jenny completed rehab and moved into a halfway house. She got a job at Martha's old pharmacy, working as a tech. Every Sunday, she'd come to my house for dinner, sitting quietly while her children slowly learned to trust her again. Brad's trial was swift. The evidence was overwhelming. He was sentenced to 25 years. During his sentencing, Jenny stood up and read a victim impact statement, her voice steady as she described years of manipulation, isolation, and abuse. 2 years after the wine arrived on my doorstep, Jenny celebrated her sobriety anniversary. She'd completed therapy, she'd rebuilt her relationship with her children, she'd gotten her pharmacy tech certification, and was saving money for community college. We stood in my backyard, watching the sunset paint the desert sky in shades of purple and gold. Madison and Tyler were inside doing homework. Michael was video calling from Singapore, his face on my laptop screen propped up on the patio table. "Dad," Jenny said quietly, "I need to say something. I know I apologized before, but I don't think you really understand. I almost lost everything. You, the kids, my life. And I almost cost you your life. I don't know how to—" "You're here now," I interrupted. "You did the work. You made the choice to get better. That's all I ever wanted." She wiped her eyes. "The house. Your lawyer said that with my 2 years of sobriety, the trust transfers to me now." "It does. I don't want it." I turned to look at her. "What?" "I want to buy my own place. Something small. Something I earn. The house is yours, Dad. You and Martha and the memories of Mom. When you're gone, give it to Michael or sell it and give the money to charity. But I need to stand on my own feet. I need to know I can do this without your money." Michael's voice came from the laptop speaker. "Jenny, are you sure?" "I'm sure," she said firmly. "For the first time in years, I'm sure about something." I looked at my daughter, really looked at her. The woman standing before me bore little resemblance to the person who'd screamed at me about money 2 years ago. This woman had calluses on her hands from working. She had clear eyes and a steady voice. She had plans that didn't involve anyone else's wallet. "I'm proud of you," I said. She started crying again, but this time they were different tears. "Thank you for not giving up on me, even when you should have." "I did give up," I said honestly. "I gave up on trying to save you with money. I gave up on fixing your problems. I gave up on everything except loving you. Sometimes that's all a parent can do." That night, after Jenny left and the kids were asleep, I sat on my back porch with Martha, both of us drinking coffee and watching the stars emerge. "You did good," Martha said. "I almost died. But you didn't. And Jenny got the help she needed. And those kids have a grandfather who loves them, and Brad is in prison where he belongs. When you saw the seal on that wine bottle, did you know what it was right away?" Martha was quiet for a moment. I suspected. I'd seen cases like it before, back when I worked in clinical pharmacy. People tampering with medications, adding things that shouldn't be there. The seal looked wrong, and the timing was too convenient. "Thank you for trusting your instincts. Thank you for trusting me." We sat in comfortable silence, two old friends who'd been through hell together and come out the other side. My phone buzzed, a text from Jenny. "Thank you for dinner. Love you, Dad." I typed back, "Love you too. They say blood is thicker than water." But I learned that sometimes love means letting someone hit rock bottom before you can help them climb back up. My daughter isn't the woman I raised, but she's becoming the woman she was meant to be. And watching that transformation, painful as it was, has been the greatest gift of my 67 years. The wine bottles are still evidence in a storage facility somewhere. Sometimes I think about how close I came to opening one, How different everything would be if Martha hadn't stopped by with her casserole and her sharp eyes and her refusal to let me dismiss something that didn't feel right. Life is strange that way. A moment of curiosity, a neighbor's instinct, a hairline crack in a wax seal. That's all that stood between me and death. That's all that stood between Jenny and a life sentence for being complicit in murder. Now, we get Sunday dinners and sobriety milestones and grandchildren who are learning what healthy family relationships look like. We get second chances, hard-won and precious. And every time I see Jenny, clear-eyed and strong, working for her own future instead of demanding mine, I remember that sometimes the most loving thing you can do is stop giving money and start setting boundaries. Sometimes, saying no is the greatest act of love. The desert wind picks up, carrying the scent of creosote and sage. Martha heads home. I check on the kids one more time, finding them both asleep, their faces peaceful in the glow of nightlights. In the kitchen, I pour myself a glass of water from the tap. Not wine, never wine again. But water is enough, simple, clear, life-giving. Just like love, when you finally learn how to give it the right way.